It's not I can't, but how can I? That's the title of our next speaker, Jessica Fealy. So Jess is passionate about the fact that rural Australia is one of the best places to raise a family, do business and enjoy the beautiful environment in which we live. Jess operates Blue Sky Produce, a family-owned 153-acre mango, lime and avocado orchard near Bariba on the Atherton Tableland, and she operates this with her husband and 4 children. She is a board director with the Northern Gulf Research Management Group, and she also sits on AgriFuture's advisory panel, the Regional Economy Centre of Excellence advisory panel, and has extensive experience working in the regional startup and innovation space. Jess is a qualified chartered accountant and community engagement practitioner. She is the founder of Backpack Business, which provides business and communication support to rural enterprises. So please welcome Jess Fealy. Thank you.
Hi everyone, thanks so much Sarah for having me here today. It's a bit of a tough act to follow Beth. She really gave us, some inspiration. I knew only 2 out of the 4 women that you put up on the slides there, Beth, so I took some photos and definitely will look them up and try to connect with them in the future. I think, they're really inspiring to have mentors and women that have gone before us. I just want to give Sarah a big round of applause, if that's okay, because she's done a terrific job organising this event, and she's been really professional to deal with, so thank you, Sarah. And I'm really thrilled to be here today because about 5 years ago, when I first started my journey in ag, went to an international Rural Women's Day event with a 6-month-old baby on my lap, and I sat down the back, and it was really the catalyst for me and the inspiration for me to know that I really wanted to be involved in the industry and I wanted to make a difference and I wanted to be part of the leadership. So well done to everyone coming out today. I think it's really valuable that we have these events and the connections you make are really useful going forward. And I've just got one more thank you, and that's to Cal and the team because they've been terrific. They're so professional about letting everybody set up, and so can we give them a big clap too? I'm going to kind of share my journey, and the theme that I've chosen for that is it's not I can't, it's how can I. And I think I've applied that the whole way through my life in trying to get that balance right, and it's definitely been tricky. A little bit about me. Sarah kind of gave you my spiel, but I'm a mum. I've got 4 kids. My eldest is 13 and my youngest is 4. I'm a hopeless housewife. I've got a terribly messy house. I'm a social media junkie. I self-confessed. I love Twitter. I love Instagram. I love Facebook. I spend a lot of time there. I'm a chartered accountant by trade, but I really prefer the people side of things, and social media and kind of business mentoring is where I spend most of my time these days. As Sarah mentioned, I'm from Bariba. Does anyone know where that is? Yeah, up in far north Queensland. It's hot, 300 sunny days a year is our tagline, although we've had a lot of rain this year. It's a beautiful place to live, but it's a long way from anything. So the internet and social media for me has really been key in how I've made my connections. I'm just keen to kind of get a sense of who's in the room. So have we got horticulture? It's kind of I always go, any hort people? One! What about beef? Sure, there's plenty, lots of beef down here. Cotton, grains, a few of you guys. What else? Dairy? No dairy? Oh, lone one down the back. Okay, it's just always nice to know kind of what industries we've got in the room and who's here. So that's a bit about me. I kind of know a little bit about you guys now. The Balance for Better hashtag that goes with International Rural Women's Day. Beth spoke a lot about gender diversity and how important it is, going forward for our businesses and our industries. And it's something that when I was growing up, I'm one of 3 girls. So I always thought growing up I can do anything. There's no problem. As I got a bit older and started having kids and working, I suddenly realised it's not as easy as it looks to have everything and do everything, and that's where the balance kind of comes into play. So I guess I'll share my story, and I hope you can see that it's been tricky, but it's that always asking, it's not I can't, it's how can I. That's kind of got me through. I thought we'd have a bit of fun to start with, and you're all going to groan because I know everybody does when a presenter gets up and says, let's stand up and do something fun. But there's a pose for International Women's Day that I thought if we could all stand up, let's do a selfie or take a photo. It's a great one for social media. I did warn you, I like social media, so if everyone can strike the pose, balance, just hold it. I just want to get a picture. Hold the pose. One more. Okay, now get your phones. Everyone do a selfie. The balance for better pose. I'm really bad at them. Get a selfie. Balance for better. Did everyone get one? It always takes a few goes. You can get someone to help you. Anyway, it's a bit of fun. Please use the hashtag and post your photos. Sarah, do we have a hashtag for this event? Maybe we could just do Toowoomba Women in Ag, #Toowoomba Women in Ag, so we can check out our photos. It's a bit of fun. Spread the word about, what a great event we had here today. So I'm going to just go back and start at the beginning of my journey. Yes, that's a terrible photo of me on my wedding day in gumboots. I grew up on a dairy farm in Malanda in far north Queensland, about an hour from where I currently live now, Mareeba. As I said, I'm one of 3 girls, and my dad was always very passionate that, we had to get in and help. And I think that's something that's common in farming families, everybody has to get in and help. And we were never allowed to say, I can't. So if we were out, moving electric fences or helping in the dairy, we couldn't say, I can't do that, it's too heavy. We always had to say, it's not I can't, how can I? Can I use a truck to help me move the fence? Can I, leverage it with a post? Can I ask someone who can help me? So that's, I guess, where my first it's not I can't, how can I gets drummed into me. As it is with most of us, our parents kind of drum some lessons in. I still kind of hear my parents sitting on my shoulder saying, it's not I can't, it's how can I. And the other part about, growing up on a farm and dairying is that often we lived quite a way out of town. We lived on a couple of different farms. My parents leased their farm, so there wasn't a lot of money around. I remember my sister and I, our first job was bagging cow manure to sell to our grandparents' neighbours for their gardens. It was a good lesson for me in entrepreneurship, but it also taught me it's not so cool to work with your family because you fight with your sister and then your mum gets cranky and smacks your bum. Those are some of the lessons that I learnt early on, that, distance couldn't stop you, access to materials or money couldn't stop you. You had to ask, it's not I can't, how can I? I then kind of finished my schooling, and as I think happens with most or a lot of country kids, my parents were adamant that farming and agriculture was a terrible industry to get into. They wanted me as far away from that as possible. In fact, my dad is still cranky that I've come back to the industry now. He thinks it was a bad investment of his hard-earned time. But I headed off to the University of New England, and I studied a Bachelor of Commerce Law there. Fantastic, best time of my life. Anyone UNE graduates out there? Yay! College, I was at Earl Page, had a really good time, but also, really gained some skills that I could put to use later in life. Fast forward 5 or so-ish, 10 years, and I've got 3 little kids. And all of a sudden, this kind of world that I thought, I always thought I'll have kids and I'll stay at home. And I got 4 months into my first child being at home and I was on Seek looking for part-time kind of work. It was a real surprise to me that I wasn't just happy being at home, being a mum, that I really needed something else. So that, I guess, was the initial start of how can I do this, It's not I can't. How can I be a mum but still have a bit of work or a bit of extra incentive to get out and about in the world and make a difference and make a contribution? During this time, my hubby and I, so we were living in Brisbane at this time. My hubby was a travel agent managing Flight Centre's 24-hour emergency call centre. So we kind of did a bit of juggling of the balance. He worked nights and I'd work in the morning, and it was just crazy. You know, we hardly saw each other. It was good, we couldn't get divorced, but it probably wasn't great for a family life, trying to get that balance right. And then we did a swap, and I worked full-time and he stayed at home and had some time with the kids, which was great in terms of that role reversal. But one of the things that I found was I still wanted to do lots of the organising of the family life and making sure we had groceries. And so it ended up being that I was working almost 2 full-time jobs and just feeling exhausted and unhappy. So again, trying to get that balance right was really difficult. So we decided at 30, our families thought we were kind of a bit crazy. We had a bit of a midlife crisis, and we did this. So, thank you. So that was our mini midlife crisis at 30. My hubby took long service leave from Flight Centre. He had 10 years up, and we decided that, you know, we wanted a bit of time out to kind of think about how are we going to get this balance thing right. You know, we were living in Brisbane at the city at that time. That didn't feel right for us either. We didn't feel like we kind of fit in there. We were these country kids that were living in the city, but didn't feel like we could make a difference working for big corporate firms that, you know, we just wanted something else. So we took off around Australia with our kids. It was at this time that I started a blog, kind of 18 months out from the trip. Remember, I'm a chartered accountant, so I like lists and I'm a bit organised. And, you know, we had all sorts of lists happening in preparation for the trip. And we also started using social media at that time. So it was a really terrific way for us while we were travelling to connect with other families. But also I saw the power of it. You know, a few times we were in a supermarket in Katherine and we had people come up to us and say, hey, are you that family from Are We There Yet? And they were from WA, and we were kind of crossing paths. And I could really see that social media kind of allows you to get your story out to a bigger audience, but also connect in with people. You know, we could turn up at a caravan park in town and I could put a question out, what should we do, what should we see? And all of a sudden I'd have 15, 20 people telling me the best places to see and go. So that was a really important learning curve, I guess, in my journey about what the value of social media could be. So we got 4 months into that trip that was supposed to be indefinite. And one of the other things that we had done that was important to us on the trip was that we wanted to go to rural towns and regional towns, and we'd blogged about the fact, you know, we wanted to kind of get a feeling for our rural roots and how potentially we might be able to contribute to agriculture, where we might want to live and raise our family. So we'd put that out to the world. And about 4 months in, my hubby's uncle called us. We were on the beach in Broome, and he said, get off the beach, you bums, you know, come and do something useful. He said they currently had a cattle station and a potato farm. He said, we want to diversify. I'm looking at buying a mango farm at auction next week, but I want you guys to have a go at managing it. And I said, no way. You know, I'd grown up on a dairy farm. It was a tough kind of life, that morning and afternoon milking. You know, it was always a struggle for money. Holidays, you know, were non-existent. It didn't really appeal to me to go back into that, running a farm, but my hubby was keen to give it a go. So we kind of hightailed it back across to the far north and ended up here at Blue Sky Produce in Mareeba. And along the way, came home pregnant with baby number 4. So that was an extra little bonus. I'm an accountant, debits have to equal credits. I needed an even number. Just took a trip around Australia, convinced my hubby that we could do one more. So Blue Sky Produce is a 150-acre mango, avocado and lime farm. And I guess we were a bit naive. This was the first time the family had kind of grown their family business. So we kind of just jumped into it, figuring we'd work out the details as we went. You know, my hubby up until this point had been a travel agent. So as we're driving back across Gibb River Road from WA, he's kind of Googling YouTube videos on how to start the tractor that he'd zoomed in on the model number in the photos that we'd been sent from realestate.com, because he didn't want to turn up and not know how to turn this thing on. So it was, you know, it was going to be a really steep learning curve for us. And the tricky thing for me when we arrived was I was pregnant, and there wasn't really a place for me in the business. You know, it's a small family farming business. My hubby was out every day kind of learning something new, smashing tractor doors and all sorts of things that you do when you're learning about farming for the first time. But I was pregnant and didn't feel that I could go and find a job straight away, knowing I was going to have some time off when the baby came. And I was getting a bit grumpy, to be honest. I was feeling like, you know, there's nothing, what am I going to do here? I can't work, I can't be involved in the family business. And I heard myself saying that, I can't. And I had to stop and I had to go, it's not I can't, it's how can I? And one of the ways that I thought I could add value was social media. So our family thought we were crazy when I said, I think we should set up a website and Facebook page for the farm, you know. One of the other problems that we were having was that we were brand new to the region, to Mareeba. Nobody kind of knew about us. We weren't sure how to sell our produce. And the other thing was, we couldn't believe that you just packed all your produce on a truck and hoped people bought it. You know, like there was no set price. We couldn't, those in Hort, the lady in Hort will know what I'm talking about. You know, it seemed crazy to me that, what do you mean we just don't market out and lock in some contracts? And so I thought, how about we, you know, it's not I can't, it's how can I? Why don't we have a go at using social media for the farm? And our families kind of were self-indulging and laughed and said, city kids, you know, okay, give it a go. So one of the first things we did was my hubby, who carries an iPhone in his pocket everywhere, took a photo of a mango out in the orchard. This is our second season there farming, and it was a big mango. We put it on the scales. That's sort of a normal-sized mango. And he just popped it on Instagram, a few hashtags, FNQ, mango season, mangoes, and it was really, people jumped on it and said, oh, that's a big mango. But within kind of 15 minutes, we had the local radio station calling, we had the local newspapers calling. This is the front page of our Cairns Post. It might have been a slow news week, I'm not sure, but that's my hubby and our little bub at this point on the front page of the Cairns Post. And we ended up having national news coverage of this big mango. It was mango season, it was just before Christmas, must have not been a lot going on. But that, you know, we didn't pay a cent for that marketing. That kind of came to us just by posting a photo on Instagram and putting some hashtags in. The next thing that happened was we had this big mango and we'd had all this interest in it. We didn't know what to do with it, you know, like we called it Mangozilla, so we had some hashtags happening. And so we decided that we would auction Mangozilla off for the Buy a Bale of Hay charity. We didn't want to just throw her in a bin. So I just put a post on Facebook saying, hey, let's auction her off. I tagged a few wholesale market agents in Brisbane, Sydney and Melbourne. And we just had a bit of a bidding war happening. It was a bit crazy, you know, I thought when we got to $100, I'm like, you people nuts, it's one mango, but that's good. And, you know, in between bathing our kids, we kind of kept bumping the posts up saying, hey, you can read, you know, it turned into a bit of a state of origin type battle between the New South Wales market agent and Queensland. So that Mangozilla ended up being sold at auction on Facebook for $550, which we donated to the Buy a Bale of Hay charity. And the other side of that was we probably had about 6 or 7 pallets of these oversized mangoes that nobody wanted to buy. They were too big for Coles and Woolies and the normal wholesale supermarket kind of supply chain. But the greengrocer in Brisbane, who bought Mangozilla, said, hey, have you got any more of those? And we said, yeah. And he said, oh, I'll have them. And he made a big Mangozilla display in his store. And so that fruit that we would have then dumped was able to be sold. So I guess this was my first win, that I could prove that there was a financial gain to using social media. And, you know, I could say to my hubby, see, I'm not just scrolling Facebook, wasting hours, you know, there's a real benefit to it. And I should say at this point, we probably only had 300 or 400 followers on Facebook. You know, it wasn't a big presence. We were new, we were in Mariba, no one knew about us. So it was a really good way to get that Blue Sky name and Blue Sky logo out. And I wish I could say that I'm a marketing genius and I really thought and planned it, but I didn't. You know, we took a photo of a big mango in the paddock and kind of rolled with where the story went. And I know Bridget will talk a bit more about the storytelling element of it, but I think it's really important for regional Australia that we tell our stories. And I think we have a benefit over the big corporates in that we've got a pocket in our phone right in the paddock, you know, so that there's a direct connection and the authenticity is there. So the next thing that happened was it was avocado season. And my hubby really doesn't like me putting this photo up because these are our reject avocados. So we're still new to this, we're still getting a hang of it. These avocados have got a lot of wind damage. And we had probably 6 tonne of those avocados that we couldn't sell. And my hubby's saying, I can't sell these. I'm going to have to dump them. I can't, you know, what are we going to do? And again, it was that I can't. And I thought, okay, it's not I can't, it's how can I? And I thought, why don't we just put a post on Facebook? We'll sell them from the farm gate, what we can. Selling some's better than none. That post reached 104,000 people. It was shared over 874 times. We had over 400 orders on Facebook. My hubby was saying, unplug it, unplug the internet, because at that point we didn't know if we'd sold out or how we were going to do this. I said, I can't unplug the internet. So it was a little bit, in hindsight, we probably should have thought about it a bit better. So we ended up selling every piece of fruit. That was over 6 tonne sold from the farm gate and close to 15,000 in sales. So woohoo, the accountant in me was like, yes! You know, that financial result for using something different was starting to pay off. And again, that little logo, the Blue Sky Produce name, to 104,000 people from our farm gate in Mariba, we just couldn't get, it's just really difficult. You don't get people driving past or coming in. So it was a really valuable tool for us. As I said to you, when this was 5 years ago, this was in 2013. So yes, I was spending a lot of time on social media, new baby, and I was really thinking about how can I meet some people, how can I get involved in the industry, and our local Northern Gulf Resource Management Group had an International Women's Day event, just like this, full day with speakers. Julia Telford, who knows Julia? Yeah, she's terrific, was the MC for the day, and she did a fantastic job, really inspiring. And I thought, you know, I really want to get involved. And so I went along, I met a few people, and out of that, I said, why don't we have a Facebook group? You know, just a great way to keep sharing resources. So that's how Resourcing Women of the North was born, and that's a group that's still going today. I think we've got 500 and something members. And it's been a really valuable tool in the whole community of women, sharing what's happening, what's coming up, asking for information and advice, and also a way for me to validate all the hours I spend on social media and being able to share some of the information I come across. So just another tool that I've kind of used in my journey to help me connect and build on my experience. So one of the other things we did, does anyone watch River Cottage Australia? Yeah, so that's Paul West from River Cottage Australia. As I got involved with the Resource Women's Group, I kind of said, you know, I really want to do a dinner on farm and showcase local produce, and we kicked it around, probably for a good 12 months, until we figured out that we could apply for a Haywire grant with the local high school kids, and it kind of fit the funding requirements, and we could involve local kids in the promotion of agriculture. So that's what we did. That's a dinner on our farm for 200 people. Paul West came up, the high school kids kind of organised it and ran it, and we cooked the meal, the 3-course meal, with sourcing ingredients all within 50 kilometres of the farm. So it was a really fun kind of event. And again, it was a partnership, talking to people and being willing to work with them to help. We got the promotion for our farm, but then there was a bigger kind of community benefit as well. 3 minutes. Oh, I've got to go quick. Okay. One of the other tools I've kind of utilised is the National Rural Women's Coalition e-Leaders course. Again, online, you can do it in your jammies, that kind of thing. Country to Canberra is a great organisation. So I put my hand up to be a volunteer blogging director for them. And they take rural teenage girls to Canberra each year on a leadership trip, really to build that capacity in rural teenage girls. Please Google it, check it out. Great organisation. Anyone can apply from anywhere in Australia. This was a bit more validation that my social media wasn't a waste of time, so I got the opportunity to be a community digital champion, which was really fun, getting out and about and teaching some social media workshops. The next thing that kind of has pushed me on my journey is that my hubby got a Nuffield scholarship, so a Nuffield farming scholarship, studying automation and robotics in agriculture, and I really started to realise that there's a big change coming for ag and that there's some great opportunities there, but our community really needs to know about it and have some skills to deal with what's happening with ag tech and automation. So I volunteered with Startup Tablelands and co-founded an event called the Future Agro Challenge. So we host on the Tablelands the Australian leg of the global competition. And basically, the goal is to bring people from around Australia who are doing great things in ag tech to pitch against each other and win a trip to the global event. The great thing for our community is it showcases our community to the rest of the world, but also brings in some really inspirational, amazing people to Mareeba. And it's one of the only ag tech events that's held in a regional community. That's a little bit more about the Future Agro Challenge. Please Google that one too, or find me at lunch. I put my name up for the Queensland Rural Women's Award and was a finalist in 2017. I didn't win, and I'm still recovering, but it was an amazing experience. I got to meet Pip Courtney, and I think a lot of what I've been able to do going on has been from the experience that I had being a finalist. So it wasn't, even though I didn't win, I got lots out of it. I now sit on the Agri-Futures board, the advisory panel for Agri-Futures, so that's our gang in Melbourne at Avoca Ag last week. So again, another opportunity that I've had that's just kind of built on from the opportunities before it. And tomorrow I head overseas for 2 weeks in the States with the Startup Community Leaders Mission. So I'm really excited about that, and that's kind of come about, I guess, from volunteering with the startup group and the Future Agro Challenge. So you never know kind of what opportunities will open up. I'm a bit nervous about leaving my kids for that long, but I'm excited too. So I have to have some takeaways because I am an accountant and I need a list. So they're my top 5, I guess, tips. It's not I can't, it's how can I. If I haven't drummed that in enough yet, then I haven't done a good job. And I think it's important to give first and kind of share your knowledge and volunteer, because I've been really fortunate that those volunteering opportunities with Country to Canberra and Startup Tablelands have led on to bigger things for me. Be you, be authentic, make genuine connections, and that's my challenge to you at lunchtime, is really try and meet someone new and be brave. It's really hard. I find it really hard too to still go and say, hey, I'm going to hit Georgie Somerset up at lunchtime. I want her to be a mentor, so I put it out there to the group. I'm being brave. If you don't see me talking to Georgie, you can say, hey, you said. But I challenge all you guys at lunch too to go and meet someone new, ask a question, dig a little bit below the how you're going, how the kids, how's the weather. And have big plans. Tell people, I told you I'm going to hit Georgie up, because people can help you then. I wanted to just finish, I love this little quote. When you admire something about another woman, tell her, get into the habit of lifting each other up, because I think we're our own worst enemies sometimes as women on our journey to success. And this is my last one. I love the steps. It's not I can't, how can I? Think about where you are and how you can jump to the next step. Thank you. I've probably got no time for questions.
Thanks, Jess. That's a wonderful story and really very inspiring and motivating. So, and I didn't realise that you were going overseas tomorrow, so that worked out really well for us, didn't it?
Thank you.
I think we will just have one quick question if we have one.
A nice one, an easy one.
Any
Ooh,
questions?
I'm off the hook.
Okay, well, you actually have used your time allocation anyway, I think. There is one? Okay,
All right.
yeah.
Sorry. Hi, Jess. I'm also Jess.
Good name.
Yes, wonderful. So you have had an amazing journey to date. I'm just wondering, what is your dream? Like, where are you going with your life?
That's a really good question, and it changes every day. Sometimes I'm like, I just want to stay on the farm and never leave the gate. But I guess for me, my dream is I want to make sure that rural Australia and regional Australia is a terrific place to live and work. So that means making sure there's jobs, that, you know, we're well represented. So I used to say Prime Minister. I might just settle maybe for, you know, I'd just like to be involved with ag policy making and future direction making. I'd like to have a voice and make it successful. Yeah. Thank you.